Hey everyone, it's Rob Ryder on Thursday, April 28th, 2016. A little follow-up of what I'm doing now with this new revelation that this appointment affidavit, which is known as the Standard Form 61, appointment affidavits, because it has numerous affidavits on it, and it's actually a form of the Office of Personnel Management that you can download from the GSA website, or you can just probably Google appointment affidavits and find a copy to look at. And this is the form that anybody who's going to be an officer in the federal government, other than the president, because they have to take a constitutional oath of office, that this is supposed to be the form that they're using to do so. Position to which appointed, date appointed, department, agency, bureau, division, place of employment. I state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that. A, oath of office. Well, as you're going to see, that isn't really how it's supposed to be, right? Because they have particular words they want you to use to do this, and it's in Title V of the United States Code, Section 3331. And it has all these words, but it doesn't have a oath of office between I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend. And as you can see, that A, oath of office, has bifurcated the wording of the constitutionally required oath of office, therefore rendering it to be an unconstitutional oath. And if you have used this piece of paper, which this is what it's for somebody who's going to be holding an office, then they have just been appointed unconstitutionally and they don't have any lawful power. And this is done on purpose. And so the idea about this constitutional appointment, if you want to study more on it, and I really believe that you should, or I'd suggest that you do, if you just write this down: officers of the United States within the meaning of the appointment clause. And you'll find this PDF, April 16, 2007. It's from the Department of Justice, and it talks about officers of the United States within the meaning of the appointment clause. Apparently somebody takes it to be, kind of important. And one of those people would be the Supreme Court. We think that the term officers of the United States, as used in Article 2, defined to include all persons who can be said to hold an office under the government, is a term intended to have substantive meaning. We think it fair import is that any appointee exercising significant authority pursuant to the laws of the United States is an officer of the United States and must therefore be appointed in a manner prescribed by subsection 2, clause 2 of that article, which is Article 2 of the Constitution. And so that little section there is called the appointment clause. And just one little more section. Unless their selection is elsewhere provided for, all officers of the United States are to be appointed in accordance with the clause. No class or type of officer is excluded because of its special function. So that would mean a senator, that would mean a congressman, that would mean a district court judge, that would mean a circuit court judge, that would mean a Supreme Court justice. It would mean a military officer. It would mean anybody you can think of that it would mean who is either a civil officer or an officer of the uniformed services, other than the president, has to take a particular oath that is in Title V, the United States Code, Section 3331. But we'll get there in a second. So applying this understanding, the court in Buckley unanimously held the Appointments Clause required that the enforcement, regulatory, and other administrative powers of the Federal Election Commission could properly be exercised only by officers of the United States appointed in conformity with the clause. Because the members of the Commission had not so been appointed, the Commission could not constitutionally exercise these powers. In other words, the members of the Federal Election Commission had been unconstitutionally appointed. Somehow they're in violation of Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Constitution. Well, if you're in violation of the Constitution, That's an act of treason. Right? So it needs to be corrected. I'm not blaming you, officer, if that's the case today. You didn't do it. This is somebody's, satanic plan to make sure that you didn't have any powers to fulfill the duties of your office. And then they just put in all these choke points. They put, their people in, and they act to obstruct justice. So, senators and congressmen, they haven't been elected, number one, and they haven't done the right appointment oath if they're doing this same one as we're going to look at, using the, this SF-61 form. Well, then, by God, they're not appointed, and they're not in office, and they would be in violation of the Emancipation Proclamation that said that every state has got to have representation in Congress on the first day of the year of every year. And if not, the president is supposed to issue a proclamation telling the rebels to desist. And if they don't, well, then he needs to go quash the rebellion. Well, there is nobody sitting in Congress because they don't have a proper oath of office. So, I've already talked about this stuff, so what can you do, right? So here's the thing. Here we sit. What do we do? Well, for myself, what I did was go here first. Last night, I went to OPM, Office of Personnel Management's website, because, hey, this is their form. And that was found out by Roe, Googling, or doing a FOIA to ask, hey, whose form is the SF-61? They said it's a form of the Office of Personnel Management. And you can go to the contact page, and, you can go, oh, hey, here's the Office of the Inspector General. And you get to his page, and you can report fraud, waste, and abuse to the Inspector General. And so you can do it. You could call them. You could write them. Or heck, you can email them, right? You can use the tool that's been given. And so here you are, right? This is the form that you would fill out. Now, this is great, see, because it said type a complaint. Retirement, health care, life insurance background, combined federal campaign, office OPM employees, general information, other, specified below. Well, I chose other, and I put in here the United States of America, comma, XREL, Robert Allen Rutluski, comma, plaintiff, V, the director of the Office of Personnel Management, defendant, in a qui tam, public prosecution, because he's in charge of this form. And all that to say, I said all that, and then this is what I told them, right? Take judicial notice. The standard Form 61 appointments affidavit is constructed in such a way as to bifurcate the wording of the oath of office found in Title 5 U.S.C. 3331, the same being the oath of office all officers of the United States excepting the President. And it says, I solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office for which I'm about to enter. So help me God. The results of the bifurcation makes a oath of office section to not be the entire oath of office as found in 5 U.S.C. 3331. Right? Oath of office. It took the solemn part, the part that really matters, and it doesn't have it in the oath of office. You're not solemnly swearing to anything. And to, this demonic system that's all wordplay, and they have special meanings for things, and, hey, that's the way it is. They're in charge. They get to choose the meanings. But once they've been chosen, they have to live by them. The result of this bifurcation makes a oath of office section to not be the entire oath of office as found in Title 5 U.S.C. 3331. It has removed the solemnity of the act and renders the officer subscribing the instrument unconstitutionally appointed. Right? Because really this is how it would read, right? This is how it reads on the form. All right, there's the form. So it reads like this. I solemnly swear or affirm that a oath of office, I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same. Right? If you're just reading the words, because it says this is how it's supposed to be, and this is how it is now, because somebody inserted a oath of office, bifurcated the oath. Now that you have been judicially noticed, informed of the unconstitutionality of your document, you must immediately contact the President, General Dunford, Pope Francis, and correct the error, or be considered a fugitive war criminal. Inspector General, I order you to fix this thing in the holy name of Jesus Christ, Lord Emmanuel. Hey, there you are. Didn't take any stamps, just took a little bit of time, and I had a chance to say something to somebody. And my point is, you could point something like this out to anybody you can find an email address for. You could find the way you want to alert the United States of America officers, because I'm telling you, most of them don't know this, right? That, hey, you've been made impotent in your office. I don't think they'd like to hear that. Well, you can show them. You can show a TV station. You can show a radio station. You can do it on a blog. You can do whatever you want. You just go do it. Go tell somebody, please. This is like, duh, this is ground zero of where the problem starts. They took the wrong damn oath. And this is for all the judges. Everybody in any office had to take this oath. So that was last night. Well, then today, because I said, well, that wasn't quite enough, and I did some praying on it. I said, you know what? I'm going to get a hold of the Archdiocese for the Military Services and tell the Archbishop and all his auxiliary bishops the exact same thing. Because they're the ones that are supposed to be giving the counseling to all these military members, Catholics, but whoever, Christians. And they need to know, man, you guys have not taken the proper oath. Stop and make them stop, take the proper oath and go back to work. But stop until you've taken the proper oath. And go demand they give you the proper oath, right? Change the frickin' form. So to the Archbishop, I said, again, because, hey, you got email addresses. I was going to send it to all these. And I said, I just sent it to the bishops. Give it to the clergy. All right, give it to somebody that hasn't been totally corrupted and see where it goes. So Archbishop Broglio, this judicial notice is to make your conscience aware that the appointment of officers in the United States, both civil or uniformed services, is intentionally done in such a way as to render the appointment unconstitutional. Title 5 U.S. United States Code, Section 3331, contains the constitutional oath of office for all officers of the United States other than the President. And it says, so now this is the entire verbiage of that section. It says, an individual, except the President, elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniformed services shall take the following oath. I, A, B, and you know the rest. This section does not affect other oaths required by law. Okay, and I don't know if you know it or not, but they call senators and congressmen honorable, so they have taken an office of honor, and so they had to take this oath. Take judicial notice that this is not the oath of office subscribed on Standard Form 61 and made part of the official personnel file of an individual that is to serve as evidence of having been appointed to said office. The appointment affidavit, Standard Form 61, has these words, but the style of the form has bifurcated the wording into two parts, of which only one section is entitled Oath of Office. Please take a minute to download the form and look at Section A, Oath of Office. It does not contain I, A, B, do solemnly swear or affirm that within the Section A, Oath of Office, and therefore it is not a constitutional oath of office, and any officer of the United States relying on this appointment affidavit as evidence of appointment has been purposely unconstitutionally appointed in violation of Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. See your pocket Constitution. The Supreme Court is aware of unconstitutional appointments, and I take the liberty of suggesting you download, the thing we already talked about, Officers of the United States within the meaning of the Appointments Clause from the Department of Justice, which mentions such cases in its narrative, and one of them is Buckley versus Vallejo, 424 U.S. 1, which is the thing about the commissioners of the Election Commission, Federal Election Commissioners. Elected officers, Senate, and Congressmen, are also required to take the same oath. They also have another defect in that they were not properly elected and do not have a certificate of election under the seal of the state, signed by both the governor and the Secretary of State. Title 2 U.S.C. 1 outlines the who, what, where, when, and why of the requirement of a senator to comply with prior to his being considered a seated senator. And in 2 U.S. Code 1A, election to be certified by governor, you will find it says, it shall be the duty of the executive of the state from which any senator has been chosen to certify his election under the seal of the state to the President of the Senate of the United States. 2 U.S. Code, subsection 1B, countersignature of the certificate of election. The certificate mentioned in section 1A of this title shall be countersigned by the Secretary of State of the state. No state has representation in the Congress of the United States, just de facto agents purposely there to obstruct justice who have ensured the appointed officers of the civil and uniformed services are rendered impotent to enforce the laws of the United States. They are engaged in insurrection and rebellion, and the President of the United States of America has a duty to issue a proclamation in accordance with the mandates of the Emancipation Proclamation. There's actually two of them, ordering the rebels to cease and desist. There's like a pre-Emancipation Proclamation and then the Emancipation Proclamation. One was saying that on January 1st, every year from 1863 on, the President is supposed to issue a proclamation. The other one, issued on that day, is what we call the Emancipation Proclamation, where he's saying, the following states are in rebellion. But there was one before that saying, if on January 1st you're in rebellion, I'm going to issue this proclamation and we're going to confiscate all your property, including your slaves. We're going to set them all free. Archbishop, I order you to inform Pope Francis of these defects in process that inhibit the officers of the United States from enforcing the laws of the United States, and for him to have the promoter of justice of Vatican City State investigate for a remedy in equity to set the children of God free. Then tell General Dunford. Robert Allen Rutluski, Office of Christ. My address. Okay, so, hey, if you're not Catholic, and you say you're a Christian, well, you still have a pastor somewhere. Go fucking tell him. Tell that 501c bastard he better get his shit straight, because you know what? He doesn't have I bet you he doesn't have a letter of determination from the IRS upon which the IRS agrees that he is a 501c3 corporation, and therefore he's just a tax evader. Now, he may not know it, didn't mean it, but whatever coercive power you can bring to bear on these people who have respect to persons, to quit having that respect, or they may go to jail, we'll see. So, anyway, so I had to email those out today, and then just because I couldn't resist, I had to do this. I've been trying to get a hold of some law clerks who are the ones that should help them like us to do the procedures properly and to submit the forms properly and so forth and so on. Right? We should be seeing a law clerk, not the administrative clerk that's just putting shit in a file cabinet. No, we need a law clerk because we need a little legal advice, and law clerks work for the court, and you own the courts because you pay the taxes. They work for you. And in the federal courts, they actually have people called pro se law clerks. Just Google it. Well, that's who these people are that I sent this to, and I had sent them something yesterday asking for some help to do a qui tam public prosecution, which would basically mean that the United States of America is doing the prosecution, and myself am the relator for the United States of America. So the United States of America is a real party in interest. It's doing the prosecution. Well, the United States of America doesn't pay to prosecute, right? It's the sovereign. So it sends out its attorney general to prosecute for it. And so that's how you make instead of doing a federal claim on an SF 95 that you would send to the director of the administrative office of the United States courts for him to decide if you can do this or not. You instead, because in those, the United States, the government of the United States is the defendant. I don't want the government of the United States to be the defendant. I want it to be the plaintiff. So the following is self-explanatory. It is my intention to have U.S. Marines repel from helicopters and insert themselves into your daily routine if you continue your acts of treason. I want the procedure and legal advice for initiation of a qui tam public prosecution, and I want it now. And so, hey, I sent them what I sent to the Archbishop. And so, part of this in my head is, hey, this is in the Bible. It says we need to divide Satan's house. Satan's house cannot stand if it's divided. All right? So you got all these young, really smart law clerks who do understand the law. I mean, they can go read it. They understand what's going on. And then they see the guys in the black robes, that do what they do. Well, I want them to know, hey, these people aren't properly appointed. And I don't know by what authority you believe you can't give me the fucking procedure and legal advice I want to initiate a qui tam public prosecution. But if you continue on, well, shit, I'm just going to see if I can get General Dunford to have some U.S. Marines rappel down some ropes and bust through the windows of the courthouse and take all the people in black robes out and haul the rest of you to the FEMA camp. And then we'll figure the rest out later. Then there you can be the defendant. And this is another thing. If you're on a piece of paper and you're the defendant, then you're already considered in prison, right? You're just out on parole, basically, awaiting your trial. Because if they wanted to, they could put you in jail immediately. So you are a prisoner. Well, in that case, a pro se federal law clerk has to give you legal advice. It's what they're there for prisoners. And one of them is violation of your civil rights. Now this is what all these things say, but when you try to get these people to do it, they're all hiding, right? They're hiding from the face of God. They all know they did wrong. They're morally corrupt. It doesn't mean they can't be saved. All they need to do is ask forgiveness, and it shall be given. But until then, it's my job to rub salt in the wound. I'm going to make them ask for forgiveness. Right? It's time to have their conscience come before the Lord and decide, are you for or against God? If you're against God, well, we got an answer for that. If you're for God, to the right. If you're against God, to the left. Now, let's go burn some tares. Okay, that's where it is today. That's really all this was. I just, again, like to do public record of this stuff because I want them to know what I'm doing. I'm happy to let them know. I just want them to do what they're supposed to, and, we can all live in peace. Okay, that's it for here, and we'll see what today brings. Have a great day. But if you can, download that form, SF61 form. Either, go look at what I did, stop it, write the words down, and send something to somebody, or think of how you're going to do it and take it somewhere. Take it to your next meeting someplace. And explain to people this is incorrect. Especially if you have an officer of the United States in your family, please go show it to them. I'm not their enemy. I love the government. I just want it to work right. I have no fear of the civil authority ordained by God. Right? And these people have taken it, oh, so help me God, if it had been done right. All right, if this "I do solemnly swear or affirm that" was underneath the word oath of office, well, then this would be a perfectly good form. But they took the grace, or the witness before God, or whatever we should call it, out of the oath, and made it. Now, it still says "so help me God," but they made it unconstitutional. So now, if you're relying on this as authority to enforce the laws of the United States, well, you don't have any. And that's what we're dealing with. Okay, y'all have a great day. See ya.